Okay, so we have now officially reached the end to phase 1 of the Onslaught crossover. Here's the thing though, guys. Like for me, I feel like the earlier chapters of phase 1 was truly great. Like everything for me was like, man, this is getting bigger and bigger. But when you get to the last chapter of phase 1, when you get to the ending to the last chapter of phase 1, that is when you know phase 2 is about to pop off. Like everything you saw in the earlier parts of phase 1 were almost nothing compared to the ending of phase 1, this last chapter right here, which of course takes place in X-Men issue number 55. And so the opening pages kind of pick up where X-Factor issue number 125 left off at, where you had Onslaught being able to take over a bunch of Sentinels. Now, usually those Sentinels are being used as a way to hunt down mutants. Not anymore. Now, these robots are going after humans all across New York. And so for our heroes, what they're seeing right now is their next big battle. Like, yes, they gotta find a way to handle Onslaught, but at the same time, they still gotta protect the people of New York from this major attack. And really, as this issue does close off phase 1, is also kind of a recap as well, because you do have the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and some members of the X-Men there as well. Now, with this small recap, we're also getting reminded that for our heroes, they kind of believe that Magneto had a part in the creation of Onslaught in the mind of Charles Xavier. Now, only Wolverine so far knows the honest truth of the origin of Onslaught. Like, he has not told the rest of the heroes just yet. But here's the thing, because you had the Avengers go out of their way to find Magneto. The problem is that this Magneto is younger and kind of forgotten his past sins. But either way, they had found the other Magneto. We also have to remember that for Onslaught, he was able to get his hands on Franklin Richards. And honestly, that right there is pretty important, because now with him getting Franklin Richards, he can now move forward with his plans. Now, real quick, I kind of want to go back over to the whole Magneto thing, because for Magneto, he was found but with Rogue by his side. And so, of course, when the Avengers found Magneto, Gambit was with them, and for Gambit, he's kind of like, wait a second, what are you doing with Magneto? It's kind of like her moving on from Gambit and slowly moving on to Magneto. Now, as he transitioned over to Onslaught and kind of see him with Franklin Richards, it's also Franklin realized that he'd been played, because in the earlier parts of the storyline, we saw Franklin with a young boy known as Charles. Now, as we already know, Charles was just Onslaught pretending to be a child as a way to get close to Franklin. Either way right now, Onslaught has Franklin. Now, we have not been officially told yet, like, what is his big plans with Franklin Richards, but it's also Onslaught saying like, hey Franklin, do you remember that time where your father had locked away your powers? Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to be anything like him at all. I want to help you grow with your abilities, because I feel like your abilities are just so special that they should be used across the world. Now, something else we also have to remember, when it came to the earlier parts of this phase 1, when it came to Moira McTaggart, she gave the X-Men the Xavier protocols. Now, we also had learned that for Charles Xavier, he had built different files to technically use as a way to bring down each member of the X-Men, just in case one of them ever turns evil, including himself. And so now you have our heroes with the Xavier protocols, and their main goal is to use it as a way to hopefully bring down Charles, who's currently Onslaught. Now, you do have some members of the Avengers and Fantastic Four trying to work together to create an armored suit to use against Onslaught. Now, the whole design of the suit is kind of built off the idea of Nathaniel Richards, the father to Reed Richards, who had appeared earlier in our coverage over this event. But here's the thing about Nathaniel Richards, right? Like, he created a suit to kind of siphon off the energy of his grandson, Franklin Richards. And so for our heroes, they're trying their best to figure out how can they also create a brand new suit to do the same thing. And it does seem like they may not be able to make one, but also they still need an ace in the hole as a way to bring down Onslaught. And so now we kind of jump back over to the heroes who are out there in the field, just fighting against the Sentinels. Now, of course, like almost every single Marvel book, but also like X-Men books especially, you gotta have a tad bit of drama. So you have Gambit being able to fight alongside with this Magneto. And so while you have Gambit doing that, it's also him kind of expressing like he's not really happy about the idea of Magneto being with Rogue. But on top of that, how Magneto is somehow playing a role in what happened to Charles Xavier. Now, while you do have the three characters, including Rogue, talking to one another, you then have Iceman appear. Now, when Bobby appears, first off, he's kind of like, I need y'all to stay focused. Like, I just helped you guys. I just watched your back because y'all three were arguing. We got bigger things to deal with. And then you have Iceman point over to what Onslaught brought into the city. And so that is when you have Onslaught place a Citadel right in the middle of New York. Like he said, hey, you know what? Right there. And so then you have Onslaught give out a very powerful speech. Now, this speech is really more the idea of him saying like, hey, mutants are no longer gonna be second class. Like, it's time for us to move up the chain. Humans, time of you guys down the chain. But after that, you then have Onslaught say, hey, by the way, here is this powerful EMP, so powerful it does some serious damage across the entire city, causing small earthquakes across the entire city. It's basically Onslaught saying, I am here to make a statement. I'm not playing around. I am here to mess things up. And so with that being said, we have now officially reached the end of phase 1 and we move into phase 2. Here's the thing. Phase 2 has way more issues that we have to go through, but don't worry, we're still going to try our best to cover every single issue of Phase 2 at a very nice pace so that we can then move on to the next crossover for the X-Men. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.